I'm naming my kid Ajax Tartaglia Child. Recently, we enrolled a new baby named Vriska. Blitzo, but the O is silent. Deborah might work as a subtle nod to Borai. Thanos Skywalker. This is my wife Nicole and our adorable son Sephiroth. I am at the point of my life where a lot of people I know or grew up with are starting to have offspring, produce spawn, try for a baby. And as someone who would love to have kids someday, it's weird for me because I cannot see myself having kids anytime in the near future. Like every time I hear that someone I went to school with is having a baby, it's like, oh great, we lost another one to teen pregnancy, guys. It is bonkers thinking about the fact that 10 years from now, if you're still watching me by then, it's very likely that I will have a kid or kids, plural, by then. Wow. Oh my god.
That makes me feel kind of old.
But again, this is just me. Everyone is going at their own pace in life. Recently, a dear childhood friend of mine announced that she's expecting a baby this summer, so my journey to cool aunthood is about to begin. To put things into perspective for you guys, this friend was in the Onceler, Rise of the Brave Tangled Dragons, and Voltron fandoms with me. So of course, when the topic of baby names came up, we ended up falling down a rabbit hole of fandom baby names. Names for your child that are fandom inspired or plucked directly from your favorite pieces of media. My friend and I both concur that neither of us are super big fans of fandom baby names. Like for me at least, it'd have to be something subtle and versatile enough that people aren't immediately like, oh, one of your parents is a super fan, huh? Either that or the character would have to be really cool and mean something to my partner and I. I don't want to judge too harshly. If people want to name their kid after something that's meaningful to them, then by all means they have every right to do so. But you also have to take into consideration that the kid is their own person. They're not an advertisement for your favorite fandom or favorite piece of media. If the baby name is more of like a subtle nod and an inside thing between people who are in the know, then that's fine. Whereas for every kid named something like Renesmee or Khaleesi, it's almost a tragedy. Someone I know actually named their kid after a Game of Thrones character because them and their partner are big Game of Thrones fans, and I'd be a lot more forgiving of it if not for the fact that this character had a really death. It's almost like a bad omen for the kid. Like just imagine 30-something-year-old me being like, all right, babe, hear me out with this name. You're gonna love it. Millions Knives. I'd certainly have to keep an eye out for the murderous tendencies in that child. Now, to be clear, fandom baby names have existed for a long time. I mean, Jesus, if you think about it, the Bible fandom's been getting away with this for eons. From parents naming their children after their favorite musicians, favorite characters, favorite political figures, it's par for the course. But with the internet and social media, it's a lot more visible to the masses, and the more noticeable, non-conventional names here and there can get a lot of mileage online. So, as it is springtime, the season of new life, I thought it was good timing to take you guys along with me into the realm of strange, unique, interesting, unfortunate fandom baby names. Let's wish Mr. Stork good luck.
I do not get paid enough for this.
Okay, now we're gonna be covering a lot of Reddit in this video, and just as a heads up, you always gotta take Reddit stories with a grain of salt. Whether these specific stories are real, creatively tweaked, or made up, I have absolutely no doubts in my brain, like 100% certainty that similar things to these stories have happened in real life. Truth is often stranger than fiction after all. Am I the for naming my twins after characters without knowing that the characters would develop romantic feelings for each other? You know what they say, kids. Incest is wincest. My husband, 37 male, and I, 35 female, are big literature nerds and have twins, 10 male, named after two protagonists in a formerly semi-obscure book we both loved growing up. The names are quite uncommon, so you would only recognize them if you were a fan of the book, or at least that's what we thought before the book was adapted into video format. Note that our children were born before the book was adapted. We did not think it would ever get a screen adaptation. Our logic for naming our twins those names is because one of the co-authors said before that originally the characters were supposed to be just one character, but eventually was split into two. We thought they had a very touching platonic bond and did not expect that this dynamic would change, but turns out the characters became a popular fan pairing online. I did not see it that way, but the actors and directors kind of leaned in that direction initially, and I assumed It was just fan service because there was nothing definitive. I found out recently that now the characters' relationship has been changed, and that instead of being platonic, they are now blatantly depicted to be in love with each other and have even kissed on screen. Have you guys caught on to what this is yet? This has been a shock to me and my husband, and his family in particular has been less than enthusiastic about this turn of events. They initially did not want us to name our twins those names, and are now saying our twins from then on will be associated with incest because of our naming choices. Thankfully, our children are not aware of this yet since they're young, but I'm worried they'll be teased relentlessly in upcoming years. Am I the for naming my kids after characters who are now associated with each other romantically? The original post was actually deleted, but yeah, it turns out that this is about Aziraphale and Crowley from Good Omens. Sorry, Crowley. Woof! You named your children Aziraphale and Crowley. They were screwed the moment you decided that was a good idea. Me naming my male twins Sasuke and Naruto. Super obscure series, you've never heard of it. Absolutely zero sexual tension. Author maintains they're best friends. Children are not billboard for your fandom. Also, Crowley is clearly an homage to Aleister Crowley, the man who declared himself such a power bottom that he drove another man mad with the power of his anus. Interesting dude, not exactly who I'd want associated with my kid's name. This has to be a fandom troll. There's no goddamn way someone named a baby Aziraphale, not even a shortened version of it. I haven't read or watched Good Omens yet, but from what I've seen, there's very much a romantic undertone in the books. Not that it matters, since the main issue is naming a human being Aziraphale. So I work a job where I see a lot of names, and I'm sorry to tell you, that would barely make my fandom names in real life list. Again, truth is stranger than fiction, my dudes. Naming a child Aziraphale should be considered an act of child abuse. Naming the other child after a demon is just flirting with the rule of determinative nomenclature. It's like naming your puppy Loki. Crowley always does the right thing, but he also delights in sowing chaos. The fact that they are described as one person split into two is a reference to a philosophical idea about literal soulmates. Sleeping llamas, Batman. Does anyone know people named after fandoms in real life? That goes for you guys watching too. Do you know somebody with a fandom name? A friend of a friend? Do you have a fandom name? Please share your stories in the comments. I beg of you, please. My mom was just putting away her Christmas cards, and it was the first time I had a chance to filter through like the weirdo name nerd I am. My mom runs a successful company, and in true middle-aged fashion, has a huge list of families that get her Christmas card. So in turn, she gets tons back, which is amazing for a nosy name viewer like me. She knows not to put them away till I can peek. I noticed one with a family that had 3 kids. The oldest looked about 13. His name was Granger. Interesting. Then his brother was Wesley. Okay. Then the youngest boy was Cedric. Ooh, I was like, these are Harry Potter people. Sure enough, flip the card to see the dog's name. Serious. I see how they tied Wesley to the books instead of using Weasley, which I mean, thank God, but after figuring it out, I was not a fan. The names seemed decent separately, but together, I was kind of turned off. IDK, how do you feel? Do you know people like this? And separately, you wouldn't really put 2 and 2 together, but all together, plus the dog, it's a bit much, in my opinion. This is fairly low on the scale of, fandom baby names to what the actual were you thinking fandom baby names? A couple years ago, I was at a music class with my nanny kid, and a set of twins were named Anakin and Vader. That was the most glaringly obvious one I remember seeing in the wild. Anakin and Vader? Whoa, that's insane, they even named 2 kids after the same character! I know someone whose first name is Trek Solo. I have no idea why the parents went with Trek Solo rather than say any of the actual character names featured in either Star Wars or Star Trek. Just Han would be better than Trek Solo in my opinion, or Kirk. Trek Solo and their sibling wandering alone. At a work picnic about 4 jobs ago, one of the higher-ups was wearing a tank top showing off a supernatural tattoo on her chest. The ass kisser and supernatural nerd I was went right up to her and said, "That's supernatural dedication right there." She came back with, "You think that's dedication? My daughters are..."
Say that you're fine.
My daughters are Dina, Samantha, and Castiel. If she weren't my boss, I would have laughed. Again, not bad names individually, but put them all together and you're gonna get some raised eyebrows. My mom's friend had 3 sons, Edward, Jacob, and Charlie. Once she told a new acquaintance about her son's name, and she said, "Wow, Twilight fan?" My mom's friend looked at her completely blank. She hadn't even heard of Twilight. Dang, okay, that was an unintentional one at least. My husband's stepsister adopted a kid originally named Lincoln Parker. He got a new middle name in the adoption. Oh my god! I met a baby named Hagrid once, never heard that before. Oh my god. Am I the for accidentally revealing that someone's husband named their baby after a Homestuck character, which directly resulted in their pending divorce? Trust me, I know this sounds ridiculous, and if it wasn't happening to me, I wouldn't believe it either. So I work in childcare, and recently we enrolled a new baby named Vriska. Now, we are encouraged to build a rapport with the parents and to talk to them about shared interests whenever possible. So I often talk to some parents about nerdy things, or others about fashion and makeup, etc. When I meet the mother for a pickup, I told her how cool it was that her child was named Vriska, even though I personally don't think it's cool to name your children after your fandoms, but I wasn't about to say that. And told her that I also loved Homestuck, thinking it would be a quick way to build rapport. The mother looked genuinely confused and asked me what Homestuck was, so I told her it was a comic, and one of the characters was called Vriska, but sensing the awkward air, I quickly said, "Oh, never mind, it's probably a coincidence, don't mind me." But I was confused because I'm sure the name Vriska didn't exist before Homestuck. She proceeded to tell me that Vriska was a cute original name her husband came up with from the word Vrishchika, which is Hindi for Scorpio. But that's also straight up Homestuck Vriska's name origin. Apparently he went so far as to create a fake paper trail of his research and showed her books and sites on the word Vrishchika so she'd believe him without looking into it. She's one of those crystals and astrology types and was gushing about how thoughtful he was because he's not into her beliefs and that he thinks they're stupid, so it was such a sweet gesture for him to go into so much trouble researching a name that aligned with her beliefs, and I'm just nodding along politely because I'm internally losing my mind. Long story short, she came back to pull baby Vriska out of the program because she's moving in with her parents, and personally thanked me because she googled Vriska and got her now ex to fess up the whole truth and basically that he really loved character Vriska, and that she didn't know about it because that love was of the waifu love rather than the I relate to this character love. So as you can imagine, she was furious and decided to leave her husband for lying to her, among other things. I'm honestly guilt-ridden that I directly shattered a marriage, and now baby Vriska will suffer because of this, which is why I think I could be the a-hole. I don't know the whole story. Maybe he's a really good father? But I also think maybe I'm not the a-hole because she wants a husband who quite frankly sounds manipulative and insane. I'm torn over this because my friends think I did the mother a favor, but my family and coworkers can't believe I broke a marriage over a simple name, so Reddit, what's my verdict? I need this to be real. Not the asshole, just extremely unfortunately the universe's jester for the month. Much like Vriska, this person did nothing wrong. Is giving a fandom name to a child ever okay? I'm only like 5% considering it, but it made me wonder what people think. For my own situation, one of my first memories is of playing the original Legend of Zelda with my dad. I've played almost every game since, a refuge for a depressed nerdy girl like me through the 90s and early 2000s. Now, I'm a parent, and for the last several years, the boys would ask me to play through Zelda games while they watched, almost like watching a movie for them. They're old enough to play solo now too. We have Zelda t-shirts, music CDs, toys. It's been a big bonding thing for us. That's sweet. I'm pregnant with baby number 4. We lost baby number 3 just after his birth due to a Oh, I'm so sorry. This baby will be a girl, and I am 100% sure one or the other of them will suggest Zelda as a name when we tell them. It's pretty enough, and I might even consider it as a middle name, but I've always been pretty firmly in the camp that fandom names are for pets, not people. Plus, everyone who knows us will know it's after the video games, and while I don't care what people think, I lie, I do care about that. I'm pretty traditional with names. But Zelda is not quite as out there as Gandalf or Severus either. So, thoughts? I've mentally been calling this baby Rosie since we found out it was a girl and was working backwards from that, but Rosalie Zelda last name is growing on me. You got Twilight and Twilight Princess in there? No, I'm kidding. But I am of the same mind as OP for this. Zelda is not a super out there fandom baby name. There's Zelda Fitzgerald, Robin Williams named his daughter Zelda, and Zelda obviously means a lot to her and her family, so it checks off those boxes of it sounds cool, it's not glaringly like Gandalf or Severus. Rosalie Zelda is also really cute. Like, Zelda as a middle name, totally fine. I feel like it's better when it's an actual name like Zelda, rather than something completely made up like Katniss, although Wendy was a name invented for Peter. Really? Wow, you learn something new every day, and now it's considered classic. I think with fandom names, there are a number of aspects to take into consideration, the main one being, is the name considered normal? I know for a while that there are tons of people naming girls Hermione, and when Game of Thrones was at the end, people were talking about Khaleesi and Daenerys and all those names. Zelda, in the long term, is a name that can last, at least in my opinion. I don't inherently see anything necessarily wrong with naming a child for a fandom, but I think it needs to be done with extreme caution and taking into consideration how is this name going to impact the child through their life. Exactly. You got it right on the nose. Luke or Leia, yes. Luke and Leia, no. Arya or Jon, yes. Daenerys or Khaleesi, no, but they sound nice so people have used them. I was really into Hunger Games when I was younger, and I convinced my mom to name my sister Primrose. I'm gonna have to live with this for the rest of my life. Like, what? Primrose isn't bad, like, but the added context, it's funny, but yeah, I mean, at least it's pretty. A bit old school, and she could go by Rose, Rosie. What? Oh my god, this unlocked a memory for me. In 6th grade, I had an English teacher, and she had 3 little boys, all with Z first names, and she was pregnant with her 4th boy. And she asked the class, if you know any names that begin with Z that would work for a little boy, let me know, I'm open to ideas. And my 11-year-old that was obsessed with Avatar The Last Airbender came in and was like, hear me out, I've got the perfect name for your baby. Zuko ended up being one of the top contenders for her poor baby's name, but thank God she didn't choose it in the end. She was like, oh, Zuko, like Danny Zuko from Greece, right? And I was like, yeah!
That's rough, buddy.
Naming my baby after a Transformer. Well, here's the scoop. I have a new baby boy on his way in 4 months. The wife knows my love for Transformers, the obsession, as she says. So with that being said, she says I can make his middle name Prime. Should I or should I not? What do you guys think? No, just don't do it. Give him the middle name Sam or Spike or Rad. Wait, not Rad. Edit. Skullcruncher. Do it. If you're gonna give the kid a middle name from a Transformer, you shouldn't go with Prime. Go with something classy. Fangry, Carnivac, Bristleback, Birdbrain, Tentakill, or Rapungus. Don't inflict your passion on your son. Wait till he's older when you can live vicariously through him properly. Naming a kid after a Transformer is crazy. You should do something totally sane, like pick a name out of a really, really old book or completely at random, or name him after a dead relative. On second thought, call him Grimlock. Screw bullies. I would kill to have been named something awesome like this as a kid. I say go for it, but personally I'd go with Ultra Magnus. Boring names are, well, boring. Don't be afraid to take chances. If he's a nerd, he'll thank you one day. If he's a jock, then you have my sympathy. Football. Not Prime, take a more obscure name. Erector, Windbreaker, Grotesque, something like that. Or maybe Apeface, do it! You know you want to make your kid hate you. A name inspired by Genshin Impact. I just met a young couple, maybe a year or 2 older than me. They are expecting a baby girl. The parents are hoping to name her Raiden, as inspired by Raiden Shogun from Genshin Impact, a game both are obsessed with apparently. I don't know what to say, I am left aghast.
Excuse me?
Raiden is a pottery company! Raiden is kind of dope. Raiden is so stupid it hurts my heart. Like, God, if you're going with that name, why not own it and spell it properly? Raiden? Seriously? I'm angry. Is it supposed to sound the same as Raiden? Yes. Do they know it doesn't? The fact that Raiden isn't even her name but her title, which I feel makes this name even worse. If they really wanted to name a baby after a character, there's plenty of other acceptable ones to choose from. Bruh, they could have picked any normal name from Genshin, like Jean or Barbara. And Lisa, and Amber. I'm naming my kid Ajax Tartaglia Child. He's gonna be besties with my kids, Signora and Scaramouche. What atrocities do these kids commit in a past life to be born to weeb parents? Genshin player here. I have friends who named their son Leoric, Diablo reference, though they somewhat regret it in light of how truly Blizzard is. An old high school friend named his daughter after a Magic the Gathering card. Avasin? Back when Genshin Impact came out, back in 2017, I met a gut named Ryotsley. Welcome to the world, Cassandra Namjoon. Someday I'm going to tell you the story of a great Anpanman, where your name came from. May you learn from his path and be guided with his values and principles in life. Officially a granny. I have heard of this baby on ARMY Twitter, but actually seeing the name Cassandra Namjoon gave me a little bit of psychic damage, I think. At least it's a middle name. After 9 months of waiting, you finally opened your eyes and saw the big, big world. One day I will tell you the story behind your name, how 7 superheroes came together and formed an unbreakable bond. Finally, I'm a proud ARMY mommy. Welcome to the world, Ashley Jungkook. Again, at least it's the middle name. Can we snap people who use their children as fandom adverts? In the wild, why? Just why? Blocked out baby's face and other info because I kind of feel icky posting that stuff. Thanos Skywalker! And here I thought naming your kids after genocidal maniacs was in poor taste. Please be satire, 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 please be satire. I mean, if it's a normal name that comes from a fandom, sure, no problem, but there's a difference between naming your child Logan Luke and this. I don't know, Moloch Palpatine would be a cool name. Molky Palpy! Buckle up, kids, here's another one.
Stop this thing! I wanna get off!
I'm sure most have heard of the CW show Supernatural, about 2 brothers who fight demons and monsters. My sister was a huge fan while the show was airing, engaged in all areas of the fandom, like insane superfan. I never really got into it like she did, but was still involved in fandom spaces. Anyway, no beating around the bush, she was hugely into Wincest, the romantic and sexual relationship between the 2 brothers. Wrote fic, edited YouTube videos, etc. She even made like a Wincest Tumblr series with her ex-girlfriend, role-playing as the 2 characters. So you can imagine my shock when she gave birth to twins this past month and announced their names as Sam and Dean. I was a little taken aback, but hoped somewhere that it was a joke. They have 3 older kids who also have fandom names, not supernatural necessarily, but across fandoms. And so I wasn't really holding up hope. I called her up and asked what the boys' names really were, and she informed me they were, in fact, Sam and Dean. I told her it was really weird, and she told me it didn't matter because they weren't real, and she didn't actually condone incest. I called her a freak and said it wasn't normal or fair to the boys. What if they found out, you know? She told me I was overreacting and to either support her bringing the babies into the world or leave her alone. I left it at that, and my mom later texted me to ask what was going on. She knows my sister used to ship the brothers, so I told her and she was quiet, but ended up telling me that it wasn't the same and I needed to apologize because she was upset. I disagree. I think her choice was horrible and she deserves to feel shamed for it. So, am I actually in the wrong here? I know she's struggling right now, but still. Additional information, they have a son called Sephiroth and they seem to be encouraging Snape behaviors in him. Keeping his hair long, forcing him into like chemistry summer camps, and it makes me feel like they're living vicariously through their kids from them. What the fuck? Okay, so here's my hot take on this. It's one thing if you ship Wincest, like what goes on in fandom stays in fandom, whatever, keep it there. And that is not what this sister did. This sister named her living, breathing, real children after these brothers whom she ships. Literally deranged behavior. This is something called real life with real life consequences. And that's not even covering the Severus thing.
What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
Nah, electric chair. I'm super weirded out by them trying to Snapeify their son. I will admit, them projecting their expectations on their kids isn't very kind of them. They are their own person and shouldn't be expected to take on a fake persona. Am I the only one who thinks it's okay? Like, I love a lot of the names of the characters I ship. If I had twins, I would totally name them that, because I ship the characters, not the actual twins, and I like the names and the characters or something. Important I'd name my kids after. Oh, sweetie.
Oh, that's a hot take.
I'm just gonna put it out there that if you ship characters, don't name your kids after the characters you ship. That should be some common sense, right? Yeah, I'm casting doubt on this one, but it's a hella funny story. Oh, this one is a doozy. Here we go. How do I cope with being bullied for my siblings and I Harry Potter themed names? So I come from a family of nerds. My mom, 50 female, and dad, 48 male, collect retro video games. They love comics, Disney, and all that stuff. Well, they have 4 kids, the oldest a girl, 19 female, who is named Leia, like Princess Leia. Then they had triplets, 2 boys, 14 male, 14 male, 1 girl, 14 female, and we are named Ron, Harry, and Hermione. It is hell. As a kid, it was fine, but we just went into high school and everyone laughs at us. I sometimes skip class to go and cry because I can't have a conversation without someone bringing up my name is Ron, and my brother is Harry, and my sister is Hermione. I hate my parents so much for naming us this, and I just don't know what to do. I made an alternate Reddit just because I don't want my online friends to know my IRL name. If I don't have to go by it, I don't. Can you please help me cope with this? TLDR, my Harry Potter themed names are having me bullied and I don't know how to cope. Fandom baby names in high school. What a delightful mix.
Welcome to my school. This ain't no high school. This is the Thunderdome.
One of my close friends is named Disney. The first time we met, I tried so hard not to ask if she was named after, well, Disney, lol. She beat me to the punch and was like, yeah, can you tell my dad was obsessed? She's very patient, and every time she meets someone, her name is the first topic of conversation. She always takes it in stride, kind of rolls her eyes and says that exact line like it's nothing and continues with her day. That's how she copes with it, by not acknowledging any ridicule. My name is also Disney themed. It was accidental, but still, and then it gets brought up a lot when you first meet someone, but people eventually forget about it and move on. Sucks when you're a kid, but I promise it won't be this bad forever. Worst case scenario, you change your name when you turn 18. I bet your name's Ariel. That is so sad. I cannot believe some parents are actually this selfish and stupid. There should be laws preventing this. It's your kid's goddamn name. It's supposed to be about them, a central part of their identity that they will take with them for the rest of their lives, and these parents make it about themselves. Just ugh. Even going outside of fandom baby names for a second, those parents that name their kids really bizarre stuff, what are you guys thinking? Like, you don't have to go super generic, obviously, but going 100 miles per hour in the opposite direction, it's not it. Could be worse. I knew a woman who named her child Misa Amane after the character from the anime Death Note, the one who was a literal walking piece of meat and tits. Imagine, hi, I'm Emma Smith, my husband John, and our daughter Misa Amane Smith. At least Death Note is more obscure than Harry Potter though. True, but in the middle of the UK, born to pasty white parents with 0 Japanese ancestry, it stands out a lot. Oh god. Can you go by your middle name? My middle name is Ron's last name in the movie. I have never hoped someone was a troll so much because if you're not, your parents are real pieces of work. I wish I was a troll. You know those crazy Disney people? Yeah, that's my parents. We live in Florida strictly for Universal and Disney theme parks. Oh my god. I'm gonna keep this short. Naming your kids after your favorite characters from TV shows, books, etc. makes it look like they're reflections of your hobbies and personality, but in fact have nothing to do with them. It can also be disappointing to them since you see them as that one character you really admire in your head, but in reality they're your own children. Depends. Naming your kids Steve, James, Tony, Sam, and Bruce is fine. Calling them Captain America, Bucky, Winter Soldier, Iron Man, Falcon, and Hulk is cringe as hell. It'd be another thing too if you had like 5 boys and they were all named Steve, James, Tony, Sam, and Bruce. And then it turns out that one of the parents is a Stucky shipper. Or even worse, one is a Stucky shipper and the other is a Stony shipper. I had a friend in high school whose last name was Knight, and I shit you not, one of her relatives named their baby Jedi Knight. I don't envy him when he grows up. One of my friends once said that they want to name their future kid Izuku, guy from My Hero Academia. Her last name is very white. Is there an Izuku Johnson in this class? I'm so sick of fandom names. Now, my favorite names. Caveat, are there some fandom names in here? Yes, and my partner is not necessarily against it. The only name we have tentatively agreed on so far is Hermione Arabella. He picked Hermione all on his own because she is a very strong and smart female character. Also, some of these are risky in general, I know that, and I get it if those get hate. Hermione existed long before Harry Potter, but because Harry Potter is so big and it is now so heavily associated with Harry Potter, I don't find it super tasteful, but I'm not gonna stop people who want to name their kids Hermione Arabella. Narcissa, beautiful flower. For all my fellow December babies out there, then that's our birth flower, but outside of being a Harry Potter character, it's also named after Narcissus, you know, the guy who fell in love with himself, and now there's a whole psychological condition called narcissism that's named after him. So not the best look to name your child Narcissa. Luna, Arabella, Evanora. Oh my god, there's more. Sirius, Jiraiya, Rhaegar, Melchior, Godric, Draco, Anakin, Nero. Don't you worry, I'm sure little Galadriel and Rhaegar will be able to live entirely normal lives with their names. It is normal and healthy to define not only yourself, but your children by the media you consume. Fun story here, if my daughter had ended up being a boy, her name would have been Jiraiya, because my partner, an extreme Naruto fan, recommended it and I liked it because it reminded me of Jeremiah. This was obviously before I watched Naruto. He almost pulled the wool over my eyes with that one, lol. Could have had a son named after the pervy sage. Have someone you know named their child after a fandom? If so, what do you think about it? I think it depends on the name. I mean, you could call a boy Harry if you're a fan of Harry Potter, but naming a child Bellatrix or Nymphadora is a whole other thing. If the name is too exotic, I think it's not in the kid's best interest, but if it's Rob Stark, Elena, Gilbert, or Luke Skywalker, why not? It's just a regular first name. I only put the last names in brackets to reference the fandom. Please don't call your kid Luke Skywalker. I used to work in child protection, and naming children after pop culture fandoms was de rigueur. My earliest recollection of this phenomenon was the plethora of Heavens and Nevas after the VC Andrew series, because incest and child sexual abuse seems to inspire naming rights. Classy. By the time I finished child protection work, we all had the usual Daenerys, Khaleesi, Tyrion, Cersei, Arya, and Brienne. I work for an orthodontist. I see all sorts of crazy names. I have a Thor, a Khaleesi, and a Daenerys, and all sorts of other crazy names. Denham, Zeppelin, and because I live in an area populated by many Mormons, I have all their crazy fanfiction Book of Mormon names. Nephi is always good, but my personal favorite is Mahonri Moriancomer? I know 3 of the— what? I know a little Ezio. Yes, for the Assassin's Creed character. I find it cute. Ezio's an actual name though, and it sounds nice, so it's fine. My ex's family had 7 children, all with obscure biblical names. Worst fandom of all, in my opinion. My friend's sibling named their son Link from the Legend of Zelda series. As a long-term Zelda fan myself, I think it's awesome. Imagine sending an email with that name though. Sir, I think your hot link is broken. I cannot click it. Yeah, I was thinking that low-key, like, oh, if your kid's name is Link, then if they like talk about, oh, I sent the link over to you, it's like, which link? The person or the website? One of my cousins gave her son Kal-El from Superman as a middle name. Thankfully not his first name, lol. Okay, this actually might be the hottest take of the video, but I actually really like the name Kal-El. It's like the one exception name. Like, we all have one, and mine is Kal-El. Don't look at me! I worked with a family who has multiple children with superhero names. They don't use their superhero alias, like Iron Man or Spider-Man, but the superhero's everyday name. Their kids have first and middle names from all over the MCU, and a couple from DC. Think things like Harley Quinn, Peter Parker, Harvey Dent, really? I knew a kid named Anakin. Their cat was named Obi-Wan. I bet that cat very much enjoyed having the high ground. One of my oldest friends is called Kestra, which is the name of Dina Troy's older sister in Star Trek. It's obscure enough that only one person she's met has ever recognized it as a fandom name, and it's easy to spell and pronounce, so she doesn't have any trouble with it. She likes her name, and honestly, I think it's cool too. I also know a baby Aerith. That one's more recognizable, and is also constantly misspelled or misheard as Aaron. I keep my disapproval to myself since I've not been asked, but let's just say it's not what I would choose for a child. Yeah, speaking of, 1 out of every 265,806 baby boys are named Sephiroth. In 2021, there were only 7 baby boys named Sephiroth. Only 7! goody. It was the 9,642nd most popular boy's name. 15 years ago today, a poor soul was given the name Sephiroth by their parents. His birthday is just in time for the Final Fantasy VII remake. Meet Nicole and Charles's new baby boy, Sephiroth. Hi, I'm Charlie. This is my wife Nicole and our adorable son, Sephiroth. Hey, I have a thought. Maybe don't ruin your kid's life before they even have the chance to ruin it themselves. If you had to name your future child after a Genshin character, what would you choose and why? I would pick Nahida, as it is actually a common and beautiful Arabic name, biased because I'm Arabic lol. I also adore Nahida and her character. Yeah, that's fine. Staff of Homa R5. I love you, sacrificial warbow. Do your chores now. Go, Barbara, go! Autrice mécanique d'analyse cognitive. Danslave. Nothing like naming your child Dead Legacy, setting them up for success right there. Never mind. I do like the name D-Luke, but I don't think I could actually ever use it for a child. Big brain time after my wanderer or traveler. I love you, my daughter, hat guy. Whoever will name their child Venti, they should go to hell. The kid would be memed as a Starbucks size. I would choose John for John Lee. Ayaka for girl, Ayato for boy. I fear for your life expectancy. Most names do not make sense for my region, so I need to wait for a Shesnaya update. Ajax doesn't sound good enough for me. Some bad ideas for naming your children. D-Luke, Edgelord Much, okay.
I have nothing to prove to you.
Foul Legacy, the Devouring Deep. Now people are gonna call your child foul. Fischl von Lufenschloch Narfedort for the Princessin. I like Diona, it's a cute name. It's so close to Diana that I forget it's not a real name. It's not Deya, because they'd be a disappointment. If you had to name a baby subtly after your favorite K-pop group, how would you do it? I'm pretty active on r/namenerds, and I often think about K-pop names that could be translated to baby names without sounding too fandomy. Obviously, you could just straight up do the name Irene or Felix, but how about some creative subtlety? For Mamamoo, I do Soleil Anne, as Soleil means sun in French, and Anne is Hwasa's birth name. For Le Seraphine, I do Seraphina for a girl, like the cat from Princess and the Pauper. The seraph is an angel, so a biblical angel like Gabriel would work for a boy's name. That just reminded me, what if people start naming their kids after like has-been hotel characters? Blitzo? But the O is silent. Octavia is cute, at least. Charlie is pretty standard. Oh my god. Vaggie. For BTS, maybe Septimus to represent 7 people? Edit, this is purely for fun. I'm not actually having a baby, and even if I was, I wouldn't do this. For ATs, I think I'd pick Aurora because it's one of their songs. I think they've said it. It was inspired by the fandom, but it feels like an interesting, beautiful name in its own right. I mean, Aurora's pretty. It's the name of Sleeping Beauty. La Chimolala. For Stray Kids, Christopher, it's Bang Chan's English name. Saint Christopher is the patron saint of all travelers. Peter, it's Han's English name. Peter Pan is one of the concepts associated with them, Lost Boys and all. I've always loved the name Rosie even before I got into Blackpink. I'm pretty sure I'd still use that name if I had a girl. Rosie, yeah, again, it's pretty standard. I love her birth name, Roseanne, too. Imagine if someone had twins named Roseanne and Parker. Roseanne Park. Full Roseanne's better. Okay, that's a little... Mommy, Daddy, why is my name Rosie and why is my brother's name Park? Because we're blinks in this house, sweetie! I'm here picturing myself having to have a serious conversation with my hypothetical kid one day, but sounding like, Piper dang Potter, you were named after some of the biggest bops I ever knew after years of her being bullied. Can't think of names close to EXO except Alexa, kinda. Suho, Alexander, Alexandra, both names mean protector. Shumin, Jade, Min in Shumin means jade like stone. Lei, Andrea, his real name Yixing, essentially means to be artistic, and Andreas, along with other variations, means creative. Baekhyun, Grace, his name means wise and virtuous, so it fits pretty well. Chen, Bell, Jongdae, his birth name means big bell. Chanyeol, Phoebe, both mean bright. D.O., Blossom, his birth name Kyungsu means flowering. Kai, Caspian, Kai means sea, so it reminds me of the Caspian Sea. Sehun, Diego, both essentially mean teacher. I mean, they're inspired by the names, which is kind of cool, but also, like, I can't imagine sitting my kid down asking me, like, why am I named Phoebe? And I'm like, well, my bias is Chanyeol and Phoebe both mean bright. EXO forever. Why am I named Grace? Because Baekhyun, sweetie. My immediate thought was Luna for Luna. I also think the name Clève could be cute. Clève is red velvet. Yeah, it also means dream in French. I think for BTS, I would go for the consonant sounds. For a girl, Violetta, color purple. For Shiny, Luna, Celine, Julietta, Stacy for Stacy. For BTS, Deborah might work as a subtle nod to Bora. For BTS, June, Bora, Ami, Tani, Tana, Tanner. I personally like Seren from Serendipity, Ria, or Euphemia from Euphoria work too? If you name your kid Ria, do you know how many diarrhea jokes are going to be made about them? Video game baby names. We've got Last of Us, Ellie, Joel, Abby, Lev, Manny, Jesse, Yara, Tommy, Dina. God of War, Freya, Faye, Odin, Loki. How many kids are named Loki now? Wait, there's gotta be a lot. 1 out of every 12,161 baby boys are named Loki, and 12 girls, only 12 girls named Loki. Oh boy. Thoughts on name Loki for a boy? I'm a huge Marvel fan. As someone who grew up in Norway, I immediately cringed. Loki is not a fond figure in Norse mythology, and it would be like naming a child after chaos, kind of similar to Hades if you are Greek. I actually don't know anyone growing up who had that name. It was seen as a bad omen to name a child or pet after a chaotic demigod. The only people I've met who have used Loki in real life are Americans, and I don't think they know the history. I like how most of these are pretty acceptable, and then you get to Sephiroth. And Rude! Why would you name your child Rude? Will you have another one named Polite? Uncharted? Yeah, I mean, most of these are, again, fine out of context. Dandelion, Doo-doo.
Flush your anxiety dookie away. People always say they feel a sense of relief after they take a duk-duk.
Mario franchise. Peach is a cute nickname, but as an actual name for a child, I don't know. King Bowser. Boo! Yeah, this is my kid. Boo! When your kid cries, it's like Wario, Wario. Ganon. Oh my god. Red Dead Redemption, those are fine. Kingdom Hearts. Wait a minute. Some of these are just atrocious. Ah yes, my pride and joy, Prompto. Can't be serious with some of these. Gabrielle, please tell me that you included these as a joke. More baby name websites. Google is totally gonna think I'm pregnant by the end of this. Writers and OC creators, you can relate though. Like if you're ever scrounging around the internet trying to find names for your characters, suddenly all your targeted ads afterwards are just baby wipes, diapers, onesies, wipies. It's like, Google, stop scaring me, I swear to God. Top 5 famous video game characters as baby names: Mario, Laura, Link, Aloy, and Ezio. Yeah, I draw the line at Mario. Video game names inspired by pop culture: Kratos, Cortana, Chun-Li, Nathan Drake, and Samus. Oh, your name's Sam? Yeah, it's short for Samus. And for our grand finale, am I the for naming my child Eddie-Munson? So, some backstory. I, 28 female, married my husband, 32 male, 3 years ago. We met 5 years ago at Comic-Con after both leaving a rough relationship. I was dressed as Nancy and he was dressed as Steve, both from Stranger Things, so it was like we were made for each other. Fast forward to 9 months ago, I found out I was pregnant with my baby girl after being told I couldn't conceive by many doctors. We were overjoyed as we have always wanted kids of our own and didn't want to go through the adoption process. During my pregnancy, I binged a lot of TV, and me and my husband rewatched Stranger Things, and I really got into it again as the new season was almost out. I was already planning to name my baby after one of the characters since it had such a huge impact in our relationship. Only my husband and best friend knew about this, and they endlessly supported me. When season 4 eventually came out, I instantly fell in love with the new character, Eddie. I loved his goofy vibe, and altogether, I thought he was pretty attractive too. My little sister, 16 female, also fell in love with him, and Joseph Quinn, the actor. She fell ill a few years back. Earlier this year it got a little better, but then got way worse. In August, she passed. My entire family was there when she died, including my husband and I. Her last words were, "I can't wait to see you, Eddie-Munson." This made my mother extremely upset, stating she doesn't even love her family enough, all she cares about is that stupid show. She started to distance herself from me since I got my sister into Stranger Things. The name Eddie-Munson suddenly came to me. I had wanted to name my child something from Stranger Things, but I couldn't figure out what, and it was a nice way to honor my sister. When I told my husband, he tried to convince me otherwise, but eventually he gave in. He had told me to just name our kid Eddie or Eds or something like that, but I insisted on the full Eddie-Munson. Time passed and I was in labor. The gender was a mystery to everyone, so we didn't know until birth. When the baby was finally born, it was a beautiful baby girl. I hadn't thought to change the name to a female name. I still insisted with Eddie-Munson. My husband and entire family told me to name her after my deceased grandmother or Lily after my sister. I insisted no because I wanted it to be from Stranger Things, and my little sister would have wanted it. I signed the birth certificate and named her Eddie-Munson, all one name. My husband was enraged, as was his mother and my whole family, and he went to Seattle to stay with his sister for I don't know how long because I disrespected him as a parent. They are now telling me my baby is going to be bullied and sending me bad messages. I don't think I made a mistake honoring my sister, and I think that everyone else is being disrespectful about my decision as her mother. Am I the asshole, or is my husband and family all overacting? If this actually is real, what do you think of all of this, everybody? How do you feel about some of the names and stories we covered? Are there any fandom-inspired names that you want to say for your future kids? Or if you are a parent, then did you name your kids anything fandom-inspired? If you want kids in the future, would you pluck names from your favorite pieces of media? Feel free to throw anything going on up here in the comments. And if you'd like to see more fandom and fan culture videos from me, then feel free to subscribe. If I reach 1 million subscribers by the end of this year, then you, yes you, can name my future children. This is a joke, I'm saying this is a joke. Please don't take this seriously. Thank you all again so much for watching, and I will see you next time, guys. Bye!